Hello, good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to today's video. Today's video is bed yoga for tight hips. So we're going to go through a sequence that you can do, well, from bed. So whether you're first waking up and your hips are kind of tight when you wake up, or right before you go to bed, maybe a nice way to kind of wind down, relax. But obviously, you can do this anytime for the day. And just like I will be doing it on the floor, you can do that as well. Doesn't need to be in bed. All right. So in today's video, like I said, we're going to go through a nice gentle stretching sequence you can do from bed for tight hips. So um, you don't need any sort of props or anything, but it might be nice to have a pillow for some of the last poses. Totally up to you. We are going to begin lying on our backs. So if you want to follow along, you can do this from bed. You could do this from the floor, comfortable surface, whatever works for you. I have a bolster here to use as a pillow. You don't need that, but if you had a pillow, you might want to use it later. All right, coming to lie on our backs. We'll just begin here. You can lie however you want. Legs can be out, or you can turn the heels out and let the knees fall in and just let yourself be in what's called constructive rest. So wherever you are, just starting to connect in with your breath. No need to change anything about your breath, just noticing the inhale and exhale. Allowing your mind to slow down. Good. And then from here, moving really slowly, we'll begin to draw the knees in towards the chest. Maybe finding a little rock side to side or just sitting here in stillness. And then we'll wrap each knee with our hands and you can start to draw some circles. So maybe that's pulling the knees apart, big circles in opposite directions. Or you could draw circles with the knees together, massaging into the low back. So whatever feels best here. Just staying with your breath. Moving slowly and mindfully. And then if you have it already, we'll switch directions, going the other way. Okay, next time we come through center, we'll find stillness, and then we're going to pull the right knee in towards the chest. Left leg can either be bent, sole of the foot on the bed or the ground, or you can lengthen the left leg out, maybe finding a bit of a stretch in the front of the left hip. Pulling that right knee in towards the chest as much as is comfortable, and you can even play around with the angle, maybe more towards the center of the chest or out towards the shoulder. Just getting a feel for the hips. What do they feel like today? And then finding a place where you feel like you need the most stretch. And for this sequence, you can close your eyes for as much of it as you like, as it's a more of a relaxing, restoring of sequence. And then each time you notice the mind wandering, just slowly bring your attention back to your breath and your body. On your next exhale, we'll gently release the right knee, change the clasp of your hand, and then pull your left knee in. And again, knee can be bent, or you can straighten that leg out. Finding an angle in the hip that works for you. Couple more deep breaths here. Good. Then we'll release the left leg. And again, we'll bring the right knee to a bend. Sole of the right foot plants, left leg extended. So I'll give you a couple options for twisting here. For a more intense twist, we'll lift the hip up and over to the right and draw that right knee across over to the left side of the body. Arms up in the T, or even using that left hand to press the right knee down. So this is a more intense twist. For a gentler twist, bring both soles of the feet to the floor, widen out the feet to about mat distance, and then allow the knees to drop over to the left. So for both of these, you can support the knees in whatever way feels good with a pillow or a blanket, whatever you have lying around. And then gaze might come to the right. So getting some mobility in the spine and also opening up through the outside of the hip and glute. Allowing your breath to flow into the low belly, the rib cage, and then all the way into the upper chest. And then full, smooth exhales. In and out through the nose. On your next inhale, engage the core and slowly come back through center. We'll reset the hips and then taking whatever twist you took on the other side. So maybe lengthening up the right leg, shift the hips over to the left, and drop the left knee over, or dropping both knees over to the right. And maybe gaze comes to the left, only if that feels good in the neck though. Long and smooth breath cycles, releasing further into the pose on each exhale. Good. Next inhale. Slowly back through center, resetting the hips. And then we're going to bend the knees, draw them towards the chest again, coming into happy baby. So either grabbing onto the backs of the thighs or grabbing onto the outside of the feet if it's accessible, and pulling the feet down towards the chest. At the same time, we're drawing our tailbone down to the mat. So as if you were trying to flatten your lower back onto the mat. Tendency will be for it to lift up, and as we flatten it down, just intensifies the stretch. So we can sit still and happy baby or rock side to side, kind of massaging the back. You can even lengthen out one leg or the other. Clearly my hamstrings are very tight, so I can't fully extend my legs. Just whatever feels good here in the hips. Couple more breaths. Next exhale, releasing the feet down. So these next two postures, I'm going to give you options. You can either flip around, and we're going to do a couple poses facing down. But it'll also give you options. So if it's more comfortable for you to stay on your back, you can stay exactly where you are. So if you're coming around, we're going to coming to a child's pose. If that's not accessible, you're going to stay on your back and just draw your knees in towards the shoulders so they don't have to come in very far. We're just starting to draw them in. And what this is a child's pose position, but from the back, so there's less stress on the knees and the hips. This is where you might want to grab a pillow. Toes will come together, and then the further apart you bring your knees, the more intense the hip stretch will be. If you're bringing a pillow or blanket for support, bringing that towards you, and then hinging forward at the hips, and maybe bringing one ear to this support. So wherever you are, finding a way to support the head. So if you don't have a support, maybe palms or fists stacked so that you can release through the neck. Or if you had a support, releasing down to that. We just want to be able to release the neck muscles, the jaw, so that we don't bring the tension from the hips up into other areas. And then once you've found yourself in child's pose, connecting in with your breath. And remember, you can support yourself in these postures in any way you need, maybe even bringing a pillow or blanket between the thighs and the shins, a little less stress on the hips and the knees that way. And we'll just stay here for a few long, deep breaths. So if your head's turned to one side, you would turn it the other way. On your next inhale, we'll slowly walk ourselves up. If you have a support, you can move it out of the way. Our last position is going to be pigeon pose with the option to do figure four instead. So for figure four, you're on your back, crossing one ankle over the knee, flexing the toes back to the shin, and press that leg away, and then to deepen, pull the thigh in towards the chest. So that's your gentler option on the bat. And then if you want to come in to a deeper hip stretch, it's kind of an intense hip opener, so don't worry if it's not accessible today. We're going to draw the right knee up towards the right wrist and the left leg straight behind. So for most of us, our right hip will probably be lifted. This is where you can bring something underneath there for support, and then maybe bringing a pillow or something in front, maybe been stacking a bunch of pillows up so that we can sit tall at the spine and then hitch forward and find resting pigeon here. So we're thinking about drawing the right hip back and the left hip forward here. I'm just going to stay up so that my mic isn't covered, but we want to, again, just like child's pose, find support in the forehead if possible. So if you can't come all the way down, that's okay. Keeping a slight tuck of the chin, gaze down. But if you can support the head on a support or with hands or fists, then please go ahead and do that. Again, releasing through the neck and the jaw. Couple more deep breaths wherever you are. And then we'll slowly press ourselves back up. Come back through a tabletop position. Or if you're in figure four, switching legs. This time for pigeon, left knee up towards left wrist, right leg straight behind. Pulling right hip forward, left hip back, maybe supporting that left hip, and then finding your version of pigeon today. Softening the space between the eyebrows, softening the jaw, soften the shoulders. Your inhales, drawing space into the hip, and then exhale, release the tension. Couple more deep breaths. Good. Next inhale. Slowly come back up. And this time we'll just roll onto our left hip. And then option here to come down onto your back for a Shavasana or coming to a seat. Whatever is more comfortable for you right now as we close off practice. So wherever you are, you can allow the eyes to close if that feels okay. Again, relaxing that space between the eyebrows and the jaw. And we'll just sit with our breath for a moment here. So I invite you to stay in a seated position here or in your lying down Shavasana for as long as you have time for. Thank you so much for all of you that joined me. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. Namaste.